welcome to the Ombudsman's program. We welcome you tonight for a special program that will have several pieces together, and the helpful staff at DATV are helping us put these pieces together. This is the Ombudsman program, second Monday of each month. And I have with me tonight, live and in studio, Commissioner Carolyn Rice, who is the president of the Montgomery County Commission and also the president of the board of the Ombudsman's Office for 2026. So, welcome, Carolyn. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, great. We'll have a good time. And I also have with me via video, a videotape of one of the founders of the Ombudsman Office, which opened back in 1971. And so we are honoring our 55th year of serving citizens. And that's what we're going to highlight on this program tonight because we opened in March of 1971. And so this is an exciting time for us to think about all the things that have been accomplished and done in those years. So I'm going to open the program tonight with a video, which the staff at DATV will run for us for just a moment. In just a moment, it was taped earlier in the studios of DATV with now Councilman Chuck Curran. At that time, he was a council commissioner of the city of Dayton when he took part in the effort to establish the Ombudsman office. So today I spoke with him about the history and the founding and how things got started. So I'll ask the staff at DATV if they would now play the video about our beginnings, and then I'll come back on and we will invite Commissioner Rice to ask us questions, to ask me questions as the ombudsman, and we will enjoy giving you answers. This is a live show. You can call in to DATV, and that number they will post on the screen, but it's 937-223-5311 if you have particular questions. And because of our setup tonight, those questions will come to me in the Zoom chat, and I will do my best to get to answering all those questions. But we are now going to start off with an interview with Councilman Curran. He cannot be here tonight in person because his council is meeting right now. So Councilman Curran, former commissioner of Montgomery County, county commissioner of Montgomery County. And so I'll let the staff roll the video and then I'll be back. Enjoy.
Welcome, Councilman Curran. I'm so glad you could participate in this program about the beginnings of the Ombudsman's Office. I wanted to ask you to talk a bit about the conditions in Montgomery County and City of Dayton that gave rise to the idea of bringing an ombudsman to our area.
Well, I would begin by realizing that there were three independent governments here, county, city, and the school board. And there was a realization that citizens in the community who had problems many times felt that, if you had somebody connected to an individual government, then maybe they wouldn't get the service or an independent look. And at about this time, we were approached by the Charles Kettering Foundation, more specifically by a representative of that organization called, his name was Wink Franklin. And Wink brought the three of us together, realizing that this had never been done before, and that maybe one government or the other might feel a little funny about an independent group that might be looking at a problem, and that it might look, somehow it might cast a shadow on one government or the other. But we were willing to come together, the three of us, work with the Kettering Foundation to build an independent office. There were other ombudsmans in the country at that time, but they were all connected to an existing government. And the feeling was that what we needed was an independent office that was not connected to one of the three, that might look at things, and maybe some of the time we had to make some changes that the ombudsman would recognize needed to be done. And there was a little bit of, I guess a little bit of jumpiness about that somehow somebody might be cast in a bad light. But nevertheless, we went ahead and proceeded to put this together. And of course, we realize today that how outstanding it is, that it's not that there aren't ombudsmen around the country, as you well know, Diane, but ours is an independent, separate from the three governments, that attempts to resolve, as you guys do so well, people's problems that they have with one or the other governments. And I thank the Kettering Foundation for their support and help in putting this together. And just think what you've done, and the predecessors has just been outstanding.
Well, thank you very much. That sheds actually a lot of light on our unique abilities in this community, with an office that is independent and not tied to one particular government or another. It gives us a lot of ability to move through problems with people at different levels. Yes, please go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I always think it is interesting to recognize that we were one of the first ombudsman offices in the entire country.
Correct.
And many individuals, when I speak about this part of us, they're very surprised. And I think it speaks to the innovation that you all took part in when you did this.
Right.
Yes, it really speaks to that so much. There are many questions about the parts of founding this office that are curious, as well as being one of the oldest in the country and being independent. I personally find that the inclusion in our mandate of giving an opportunity for public service to volunteers is also quite unique. And I'd like you to reminisce about that a little bit, please.
Well, the neat part about it is that the office just has a lot of volunteers. I can remember early on, because we would have, I can't recall whether they were quarterly meetings, but we met down on 4th Street, and that was the first location, as I recall, for the ombudsman's office. Yeah, you always had really sharp people that would give their time, and they had expertise in particular areas. And that was not at the cost to the public, but they were giving their skills so that citizens in our community might have a problem resolved with one of the three governments.
Yes, and that is remarkable to this day, and always a part of our program that other ombudsman offices want to emulate. And and get an idea about how do you actually pull this off. So it has worked throughout the years very well, and as you say, people can bring their different expectations and experiences to our office. Can you help us to understand how C.J. McClin, elected official at that time, as were yourself and many others, involved in helping pave the way for funding for the Ombudsman's office?
Of course, CJ was a very important individual, certainly within the community. And he had vision of seeing, financial support for the ombudsman, work to encourage each local government, the city, the county, excuse me, and the school board to establish an appropriation in their individual budgets that would fund the ombudsman's office, so that everybody participated, and CJ was kind of a person who really encouraged and pushed all three to be able to do just that. And today I think that that of course is pretty firm in place, where appropriations are made yearly by each of the governmental entities participating to fund the office. And I'm very, very glad for his leadership and direction in that area.
Yes, that's phenomenal, actually, to get together like that. Can you tell us about the very first ombudsman and how the first ombudsman was chosen?
Yeah, that was a challenge. That was a challenge. Was this person going to come out of the city government and or the school board? And there was a full realization if that happened, there still might be suspicion that everything was going to go in one particular direction or the other. And we were very fortunate, again through the Kettering Foundation and some local community leaders, to be able to tap Ted Bingham, who at that time was with the Dayton Journal-Herald, which was the morning paper that you and I can recall. And Ted was willing to be the first ombudsman, and it was a neat guy. I mean, first of all, he was separate from the three governments, but he had a personality where he could get along with all three. I mean, he wasn't an abrasive individual. Obviously, he wanted to see fairness, but at the same time, he was just the kind of person that was very open and certainly willing to listen. And Ted kind of led the way for this office, and I think he was just an excellent choice. And he had that newspaper background, and at the same time, he wasn't connected to any of the three governments, and he was also very personable, and he was the kind of person who would attract people to come and help at the ombudsman's office, just as you referred to earlier, Diane. People who had special expertise in areas that could help our citizens. He was a great pick. Another person came along helping him, Margot Evans. Bruce Evans' wife. Bruce at the time was he was the Dayton Art Institute. He was, I think, the CEO over there, and Margot played some. She was over helping him also.
Yes, I've read of both of them. I'd like for the nice staff here at DATV to take a second to show the picture of Ted Bingham, so that people will know who the first ombudsman is. If we could put that up now, that would be lovely for people to see it. Also wanted to mention that this hiring of a newspaper person started its own little spur across the country. And later,
interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting. I think that the qualities of being inquisitive and probing, and all of those types of skills that come to ombudsman work, because the Ombudsman of Alaska was also a journalist, and an ombudsman in Hawaii was also a journalist, and in Iowa, and so a number came along after that, and so that's another legacy that you share there that you may not have even known
I didn't.
That had happened.
That's great.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Well, we're about to end up on our time here, but I could ask you questions for a long time. Was there anything else that you would like to share for this historical production of the Ombudsman program?
Well, I think I would just say to the citizens listening, this office is an outstanding opportunity for people to get issues resolved. And every day, or when we have the opportunity to look in the paper and see another problem that's been resolved, I think this is big kudos to you and to the members of your office staff and volunteers who work so hard to be able to resolve a problem that citizens have, and they give even greater credentials to the need for this very important office, Diane. And I really thank you for being a leader and just helping to continue the tradition.
Well, sir, I thank you very much for your time to share with us about the early days, and we appreciate your contribution, one that lives past 55 years now. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I think the other two have passed, Charles Lewis and gentleman from the school board. Yeah.
Yes, I'm afraid so. Thank you again for
You're
your
welcome.
time and your information. Be well.
Be well too, Diane. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, that's our thanks to former Commissioner Chuck Curran, who was instrumental in the establishment of the Ombudsman Office. As you just heard, there were a couple of ombudsman offices in the United States. Of course, the concept of ombudsman goes back 200 years to Sweden, therefore, the word ombudsman goes back a couple of hundred years, but it did make its way to the United States, and now there are many of us in many areas. So we're grateful to former Commissioner Curran for his time with that interview. Now we're going to turn back to our host for this evening, which is again Commissioner Carolyn Rice, if you're just now tuning in. And she is our president of our board and president of the Montgomery County Commission currently. So she has kindly agreed to come on and to ask some questions of myself and of Chip, who's standing by, about the long-term care ombudsman program. But before I turn it over to her, I just wanted to say a word of explanation about the pictures that you saw. Of course, one was Ted Bingham himself, the first ombudsman, but then the second was a cartoon version of Ted Bingham that was published, I believe, in the Dayton Daily News early in our history, and it is depicting Ted Bingham as Don Quixote, which is the hero of Cervantes' great novel, The Man of La Mancha. In Spain, and they chose to depict him this way in the cartoon because Don Quixote was noted for righting wrongs, redressing injustices, and protecting the weak and the vulnerable. So that's an explanation as to the showing of those pictures. So now I'll ask Carolyn to please step in to the program and ask what we think the public might want to know about about our office and the work that we do today, 55 years later, but still going strong. So, Carolyn.
So, Diane, how long have you served as ombudsman, and what was your background before?
Oh, thank you. I've became ombudsman at the retirement of my predecessor in 1999. Before that, I was with the office for 6 years as her assistant ombudsman. So I had a good training period there to figure out the complexities of this job and what it was I was supposed to do. Before that, my background is in social work, and in policy analysis from college. And I spent a number of years working before I was here and applied to be ombudsman for an international human rights organization called Amnesty International. So that was, I bring a human rights background to this position, which is very interesting and much more, I think, in keeping with ombudsman around the world, which this is a very important issue for ombudsman in other countries. Thank you.
For sure. So we talked about how it started out. Can you describe the work of the office today? Has it changed much from the beginning? And what type of complaints do you accept? And how do you decide which ones to accept?
Thank you. Another good question that I hope the public will benefit from hearing about. Our mandate given to us by the founding commissioners is to investigate complaints about government agencies. That's a worldwide description of what ombudsmen do. And of course, other forms and types of ombudsman have arisen and handling different areas. But that is basically what government ombudsmen do. So they gave us the mandate, of course, to include volunteers, which we just talked about, but to investigate any administrative act of government. And so, as you can hear, that doesn't just mean Montgomery County, Dayton Public Schools, and City of Dayton. It's any administrative act of government for the residents of Montgomery County. So our jurisdiction is geographically centered on Montgomery County and the people that live here with us, but it is also expands to include any government agency, which can be state agencies and can be even federal agencies. So we have a rather broad jurisdiction, and so that's what we do for people. You'll notice that what is missing there is the private sector. We don't have a jurisdiction or any authority to go marching into the private sector. So those are the kinds of complaints we are able to take and happy to take, and what we just like to do. That was the mission when the Ombudsman Office was founded, and it remains our mission today. That has never really changed. I think what has expanded somewhat over the years are the number of agencies that exist, whose existence impacts the lives of our citizens. And I don't really know about in 1971, but when we were established, but everyone has to have identification nowadays. Everyone has to have a social security number. Everybody who wants to drive cars got to have a driver's license, or a state ID is a form of identification. So those span a lot of different agencies at both local, state, and federal levels. And so we do accept those complaints. And I have to say that staff at the Ombudsman Office and volunteers are not very good at saying no to a caller who's seeking help from our office. And so while we can't do everything for everybody, if we are not the agency to try to help a caller, then we do our best to try to connect them with the appropriate agency or appropriate resources that can help them. And I'm pretty sure that's the same as it was in the past, that people are trying to make connections and help people, even though it's not a case that we can exactly take on. But when we do take on a case, when it fits in our jurisdiction, or a mandate, then we will always get a release, a permission from the individual to reach out to that agency to find out what the problem is, what's the other side of the issue, and so we get that permission from our citizens through a release of information, or if it's something very urgent, it might be a verbal release, but usually we like to have that in writing, and then we will take the complaint to the agency and question them about what is going on from their point of view, because of course they have a file and they have information, and we have received over the years a wonderful response from agencies in our area, and I've always believed that that is because of the endorsement of the Ombudsman office by the elected officials that are the commissioners at the county and the city and the school board level, and even in other areas
Sure.
that have elected officials that are leading their agencies. So we get a very, very good response to our inquiries. We have a release of information. We have the 55-year history of doing this in the community, and are pretty generally well known among the staff in the government agencies. And we work, there's always turnover, so we always have to work to do outreach, to reintroduce ourselves, and to keep our work in front of the public so that people can find us, and even agency staff know us. So not a lot has changed in what we do, but what has changed, I would comment on, is that we have a lot more agencies. We have changes in those agencies. Sometimes they have much larger mandates themselves than what they had a number of years ago. All of us have to have connections with these agencies to live our lives and to get our business done, with taxes and with water services and with streets and with garbage. Garbage is always a big topic in our office, because all of us create it and we all want to have it removed. So it's something that's one of those universal types of things. So
Sure.
thank you.
Well, and you answered a couple of my questions, but the next one I have for you is, where does one receive training to become an ombudsman?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'll be glad to answer that. I would like to let you and the viewers know that we have received a caller in the chat who doesn't have a question, but is calling in to congratulate us on 55 years, and also express gratitude for seeing that Commissioner Curran is doing well. So that was a kindness and a congratulations, which is very nice. Training. There is no University of Ombudsman. There is no there. I've taught in some of the online courses that universities have tried to have, but there is no degree. There is no degree plan. So it's a little bit of a catch can, but we do have a organization called the United States Ombudsman Association, and they are probably the premier source of training for government ombudsmen. Once every year, in conjunction with their annual conference, which moves around the country, they host a 2-day intensive training session for new ombudsmen. And it's very popular, it's often oversubscribed. There are some other ombudsman associations, such as the Canadian Ombudsman Association, that also offers a training regularly, annually, and so many of the U.S. ombudsmen have gone there to visit Canada and experience their training. And then there's a lot of in-house training, and in-house where a person is hired. We will spend time to train. Nobody can be expected to just accept this job and figure out what to do. How do you negotiate with a bureaucracy? How do you negotiate with a government agency? And I'll make that clear, we don't do mediation because those parties don't really take a position. They're neutral. And ombudsmen do eventually end up taking a position and advocating for the person who's complaining to us, or either we get back to them and tell them, your complaint's not valid, and this is
Okay.
why, and explain that to them, which I think is a very important part of our work, to be reconnecting the complainant with the agency so that they can understand why they're not going to be successful in obtaining from that agency what they are achieving, what they're trying to get. It's important for people to leave that situation not being delusioned, feeling like they haven't been heard, that
Right.
somebody hasn't spoken to them about it. And in occasions we even have requested letters of apology because agencies do make mistakes. We
Sure.
all do. So that's kind of how that's changed.
All right. Well, my final question for you is, what role has the office played in the promotion of ombudsman work? I know you talked about nationally, but even in the international arena.
Yes, from the very beginning, my predecessors had great foresight. The ombudsman in Montgomery County, Ohio, was instrumental in establishing the United States Ombudsman Office. A former
Remarkable.
ombudsman from right here was one of the founding members to establish that nonprofit organization. And so there's been a lot of influence that has come from the Dayton, Ohio, Montgomery County, Ohio office in literature and in training, as I mentioned, and in serving on the board of the nationwide, the USOA, United States Ombudsman Office, Ombudsman Association, excuse me, and then the same with the International Ombudsman Institute. The predecessors of mine have served on those boards in the past and have worked intimately with the office. The first International Ombudsman Institute office was in Alberta, Canada. And so it started there. It has later since moved to Vienna, and it currently has over 220 ombudsman offices from around the world
Wow.
that are part of its membership. Some are quite large. They're national ombudsman. That's one question I get in that arena. When will the U.S. have a national ombudsman? Difficult to answer with our government context, but there's many national ombudsmen, which of course are serving large populations in Asia and in Africa and around the world. But the Montgomery County Ombudsman has been a part of that ever since its establishment. In it came around in the mid 70s, so we were still very new, but of course jumped right in to be involved in that.
One more way where our region is innovative. So I learned
Yeah.
something
Absolutely, very innovative in even our creation and structure, and we enjoy continuing to be as innovative as we can. And I was honored to be elected as the president of the international organization and served my term there very gladly. So now it has moved to the Ombudsman of Montreal.
Wonderful, wonderful. So,
Well, thank you, Carolyn, for all those questions. Did you have another before we move on to
no, I think our next set of questions are about long-term care.
wonderful? Well, Chip or Lawrence Wilkins, he goes by Chip, is here to talk about that in the time that we have remaining. So I'll let you, Carolyn, lead off.
All right. So, Chip, what is
Hello.
the hello? How are you?
Wonderful. How are you this evening?
Good to see you. So, my
Good to see
first
you
question
almost.
is what is the long-term care ombudsman program?
Well, we use the term ombudsman, but it really should be advocate. We are advocates for residents in long-term care facilities, as well as for individuals who are at home and receiving any kind of long-term care service in their home. And we are different. I mean, what's great about the Montgomery County Ombudsman Program is they are a traditional ombudsman and can look at the position from both perspectives. Whereas we, as long-term care ombudsman, I always tell staff, we step in the shoes of the resident and we advocate for what is in either their desire or in their best interest. And so we are advocates, first and foremost.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how did the long-term care ombudsman program get started? How did it come into existence?
Great question. And I always have to go back to the 60s. And in 1965, the folks in Washington created the Older Americans Act, which is still in effect today. And through the Older Americans Act, the legislators in Washington realized that there were too many people dying in nursing homes prematurely or weren't getting the care that was expected of a society such as the US. And they said, look, if states want to continue receiving Social Security and Medicare, each state is going to have to create their own long-term care ombudsman and ombudsman program. And so that is how the long-term care ombudsman program started. And then by the early 70s, it was active in Ohio. And then we, as ombudsman, long-term care ombudsman, came into the Joint Office of Citizen Complaints, or the Montgomery County Ombudsman, and they became our sponsoring agency. And what's great about our area is we've only had one sponsoring agency since we started. It's been the Montgomery County Ombudsman. And we work out of the same offices, but our work obviously is a little different. And we're not per se investigating government agencies. We are really investigating complaints from residents or individuals receiving care.
Okay, okay. And how is the ombudsman program structured?
Well, it is. We kind of mirror the area agencies on aging, and I know most folks listening have or watching have heard of the area agency on aging, and there are 12 regional area agency on aging offices. Likewise, there are 12 long-term care ombudsman offices throughout the state. Every region has a sponsoring agency that they partner with, and each office has a program director, a volunteer coordinator, and then they have a staff of ombudsmen that go out and handle complaints in the different nursing homes and in the community. Um, we have now, thankfully, we've really doubled in size over the last 10 years. And um, that is in part because of the number of growing assisted living facilities and nursing homes that we all see in the community. And these individuals really do need assistance. But we are led by a state ombudsman that is part of the governor's cabinet. Uh, the ombudsman is wholly independent, though we do kind of park ourselves in the Department of Aging. Uh, we are, those separate and distinct from the Department of Aging, because we need to be, because sometimes we are looking into issues involving the area agency on aging. So it is it's one of those unique scenarios, but that is in part the structure of the office. We could go into all kinds of details, but I think
Sure.
that's
Right.
the general structure.
Okay. And I think you've mentioned it, but could you just repeat kind of who are the clients that you serve?
We serve residents in nursing homes and in assisted living facilities. We also serve members in the community who are receiving home health related services. So, really, anyone receiving long term care or long term care services could be our clients. If they call our office with a complaint, very few will we say no to, as Diane alluded to earlier, as that's kind of been a mantra that she set in the office, that it's really hard to say no. We try to help
Sure.
any and all that call.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And so you said your region. So what counties do you serve?
We serve 9 counties. Montgomery, Clark, and Greene are the largest counties in our region. We also cover Champaign County, Darke County, Greene County, Logan, Preble, and Shelby. Those are our 9 counties. And I will tell you that it happened last Wednesday. We got a call from someone in Preble County that wanted help with with their Medicaid office, Department of Job and Family Services, regarding a late payment. And really, when we said that's not in our jurisdiction, we can't really help with that. We tried to step them through what to do. And they said, well, I thought that's what your program is. I said, well, we have Montgomery County covers that. And the call ended with them saying they wish they lived in Montgomery County where they could get assistance with that. But that wasn't the case.
Right, right, right. Wow. So do you, this is just a question, do you end up actually traveling to all these counties on a regular basis, or is it mostly phone call?
No, we go to every county. We are responsible for going to every nursing home and every assisted living facility at least once a quarter for what we call regular presence visits. And we cover about 205 facilities. And that's not including group homes, which we do cover some adult group homes, which takes us over 220. Seven, I believe, and we have to go to all of these once a quarter.
Wow.
And then if we have a complaint that comes in from any facility, we have to go out and meet each client face to face. We cannot close a case if we have not met with the client. So we do a lot of traveling because usually the complaints that are brought to the office require that.
Sure. So a lot of person to person.
A lot of person to person have to get written consent. There is nothing that we will do without a resident's consent. And really, the cases are very confidential. Their information's not going to be
Sure.
spread to other agencies.
Certainly.
It just is part of the work that we do. We maintain a strict code of confidentiality.
Sure. And so you're going out, you receive these complaints. What are, like, give us an idea of the kind of common kinds of complaints that you receive.
One of the most common complaints, and I think we could all imagine this, is a resident's in their room, they hit their call light, and no one responds for half an hour, or in some cases, 3 hours.
Wow.
And so a call light response time is a complaint we get quite often. We also get a lot of complaints about medications not being timely administered. We also get, sadly, complaints about financial exploitation, abuse or neglect. And then the most common complaint in our office, though, is regarding discharges. If someone is being discharged, evicted, kicked out of the facility, the ombudsman's office is the first line of help for that resident. And
Right.
with every discharge notice, they're given our number. We receive every discharge notice and reach out to the residents. In fact, this afternoon we had a 2.5 hour discharge. They call it a hearing, but it's everyone meeting kind of like this on Zoom and discussing the issues. So that really is our biggest percentage-wise case that we handle.
All right. Well, I have a question too. If someone is looking for a loved one that needs to go into a facility, can they call your office to find out, information, that, I don't know, is that
Yes,
part of your
ma'am.
service to just kind of relate publicly available, obviously, nothing confidential, but like, is that part of it or is that
100%
really
we do
not?
that, and we call it selection assistance. And we have created a nursing home navigator, which you can find at the Ohio Department of Aging. It will give you a breakdown of the facilities in any given geographic area. You can do it by county, you can do it by city, you can do it by zip code, but you can actually look up the facilities, find out how large they are, what type of insurance do they take, and then you can also look and see what are some of the complaints that come against that facility. And then you can compare and contrast. And if anyone has trouble getting to the site, we help folks every day get to the site so that they can manage that and find a location that is right for them.
Well, I would imagine that is a very helpful service. when any family has a loved one that, especially, sometimes things happen unexpectedly, so you haven't really had time to really plan ahead. So I would imagine that's very valuable to know where that website is and how you can access it. So that's great information to know. So do you help individuals who are not in a long-term care facility? It suggests that you do if they're getting services, but could you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, folks who are at home and have received long-term care services such as home health care, maybe even they're getting Meals on Wheels, or they may be getting some of their medical items that are delivered to their homes. If they have issues related to the services, they call us. A lot of times it has to do with a case manager not returning a phone call, or certain goods not being received timely. So we do a lot of help in the community outside of nursing homes or assisted living.
Wow, you really cover a broad spectrum. You must stay busy. How
We stay
many,
very busy.
yeah,
Pardon me?
how many, I know you have volunteers as well as staff. How many of you are typically, responding in a week?
We have right now 5 dedicated ombudsman specialists out in the field. We have a volunteer coordinator. We have a team of volunteers that pre-COVID was just above 40. We have been struggling to get back to that number, but our model is set up with the idea that we will have a lot of volunteers. And in any given week, we are covering, 10 to 20 new cases a week that may come in.
Okay. And if someone was interested in volunteering, call your office, I'm assuming?
Call our office and we will get you set up immediately.
Right, right, right. So you've covered that a lot of your common complaints. Is there any, what is the most unusual complaint you've got that is something not confidential? I'm always like, what's the unusual?
Well, we've had quite a few unusual complaints over the years, but what never ceases to amaze me is to watch family members get in kind of debates about who should be the loved one's legal representative, the power of attorney, and the best advice I can give to any family is to get all of that taken care of ahead of time. Be proactive, know who your power of attorney is, and let your kids know that too, so they don't come and argue about where mom or dad should be. But we
Right.
get a lot of family related debates as to who should be in charge of their parents' care.
I can only imagine, and those are always trying times for everyone anyway. So great advice for especially any of the seniors who are watching, to get your own plans and communicate that to your family and friends so that everyone knows what your wishes truly are in case you would be in a situation where you couldn't really express them. Wonderful, wonderful. So how many, you said about 220 facilities in the 9 counties, and it's growing, because I know I drive by and see more assisted living in different communities going up. So what kind of how fast is that growing, or has it just been still slow and steady, or do you see it really picking up?
No, it's, as the new generation of seniors start to need nursing home or assisted living care, you can see the facilities go increase or decrease. In our case, we have the baby boomer generation that is now in long-term care and continuing to enter long-term care. And that's why I think it's by 2032, we'll be at our peak. And from there, it will decrease each year by a small percentage, but we have not hit our peak. And I anticipate more facilities continuing to be developed in the area, and that 220 may get as high as 250.
Wow.
But that's just a guess.
Right.
There's no science behind that. That's
Right.
just
And you do,
chipism.
I mean, we all drive by and see new communities going up. So I know that you go around and visit these facilities, someone from your office each quarter. How many cases does your office investigate in a typical year?
Usually, I always say about 600 is the norm. It can be more than that. And really, the cases where we go out and individually meet with the residents, that would be a pretty solid medium or median level of facilities that or complaints that we have at the facilities and in the community. We also receive, for every case, we probably have 3 calls that we're able to resolve just on the phone without a case being opened, such as selection assistance that we talked about earlier.
Sure.
And our phone, much like with the Montgomery County Ombudsman, is constantly ringing.
I would imagine that good news travels fast. When they get a great result working with you, I'm sure they tell their family and friends to turn to you if they know anyone.
We sure hope so.
Absolutely, absolutely. So of all the cases, you got these 500 or 600 cases. How many cases do you classify them as positively turning out, or, I mean, it can't be 100%, but.
Yeah, our goal in every case is to try and make certain that the resident's complaint is resolved. And we are in a year between 85 to 88% of our cases are resolved to the client's satisfaction. But we work really hard to work with the client right at the outset in clarifying what their goal is, and then we seek to achieve that goal. And we do have a good resolution rate, though it can always be better, and we will continue to improve every year and work to get that number up until it's 100%.
Sure. Now, do you have conferences throughout the state, or do the various regions ever meet and compare notes?
We do, in
what's
fact.
Happening?
We have monthly meetings with just the program directors and the ombudsman. And then we also have monthly meetings with the entire ombudsman staff across the state. Since COVID, we have really taken Zoom and Teams by storm. It allows us to meet more often. We do have one visit or one meeting a quarter in person, but we do a lot of comparing of notes. And of course, every ombudsman that works in long-term care goes through a certification process up at the state office, and they get 100 hours of training. Then they have to take a certification exam. Once they get through that and pass, then they can start to handle cases on their own.
And that was going to be one of my next questions is, what to be an actual long-term care ombudsman, you know, what is that process? So you've answered that. So my question is, Chip, how long have you been with the Montgomery County Ombudsman Office, and what's your background?
Sure. Well, I was a an attorney and came up the legal pathway until I had family involved in long-term care and knew that that was an area that I wanted to work in. And about 11, 12 years ago, I met with Diane and learned there was an opening and was blessed to be hired in as the program director. And I have been here since and will be here uh, for the foreseeable future.
Wonderful,
Well,
wonderful.
that's reassuring to know, Chip. Thank you.
Oh, we love our work. We really
Yeah.
do.
Well,
Carolyn,
very, very interesting.
if I could take a few minutes to just add some things as our time is ticking down. A few things I wanted to comment on. There was a caller that came in that wanted to know what are some of the most interesting cases that I've had in my career. Well, um, we don't have enough time in this program for that excellent question. But what I will say is that we have had so many, and for people to read something about how our work turns out, we do have a website, www.dayton-ombudsman.org, and we do publish outcomes of our work on that website. And then we also have a column in the Dayton Daily News that actually Ted Bingham, the first ombudsman we talked about in the first part of the show, he was a former newspaper editor, of course. So he started the column, and it has continued since the 70s. And so we feature cases in the column. Each week we have one that we feature, and then we also feature them on the website and in our reports. So there is information about that. We have had cases involving sometimes strange antics on the part of the complainant, thinking that it was going to make a difference if they behaved in this or that way. So I can't be too specific because of confidentiality, but such as chaining oneself to a part of an agency or to part of what offends them in their complaint. So we have had to go on site with some of those before. But I think we've also, it makes a big impact when our complaint resolution bumps into maybe some funds for people that they did not expect to be getting. I'm sure everyone is happy with that, and so there's many different types of satisfaction to the end of a complaint, but it's actually the case in our ombudsman office that one never knows when you answer the phone or when you open a complaint in a letter or an email. You never know what lies on the other part of that in both long-term care and government. So it's in some ways never a dull moment in seeing, and always an active time to get to see how are we going to resolve this one? What strategies can we take? So back to the Carolyn's comment, about the volunteers. Again, we both want to highlight that we do accept volunteers. We love our volunteers. They make all the difference in the resolution and in the care that we can provide. So we're thankful to all the volunteers, including the volunteers at DATV, who have produced this show for us for many years, giving us a chance to air our voice on in the public, and for the public to not only talk to us when they call in, but also to talk to government officials when we feature them to talk about their programs or about what's upcoming and what's changing. So those the DATV and Dayton Daily News that give us an outlet to the public, we are most grateful for their longstanding support and their help in helping us get the word out. So I just wanted to add that in the end, and I think our time is wrapping up. So Chip, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but is there something else that you wanted to say before we leave?
Diana, it was again, you touched on it, and the uh, having the opportunity to work with volunteers and see the difference that they make in the lives of the individuals they work with, and then to see how it so positively impacts the volunteers. It's just for those looking for the right next experience, this should be something they consider.
Agreed. And Commissioner Rice, I want to thank you and to thank the long history of board members for the Ombudsman's office that have supported the work. It could not be done without the support of the elected officials that give us that legitimacy that lets us approach agencies, sometimes yours and sometimes not, like federal and state ones, but it's still that legitimacy that lets us go to an agency with a person's complaint and work seriously to get a resolution to that. As I said earlier, we do find a willingness in that from the agencies, and that is because you're behind us. And that makes all the difference. And so, thank you too for giving your time tonight to
Oh,
help host this program and to come on and help us do it. We appreciate you.
right back
Absolutely.
at you. And thank you both. And, for you and your whole team and all these years, happy 55th. I know that you've made a great impact on our community over these years. And it was such a good idea that it caught on not only nationally, but around the world. So I know our community is stronger by having an avenue when they don't know where to turn to get some help on things that really matter. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and happy 55th.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. So I think that's our time for this evening. So we will see you in a future program. But thank you for your calls and contact us with your problems. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Bye bye.